Hello, everyone. I'm Jeffrey.
I'm Jesse. This is Off the Crypto Cuff. We're just two friends here having a drink together and see where this conversation goes.
Yep.
Tonight, I'm drinking Triple Oak. I think I had this recently. I kind of like this. It's pretty good. How about you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking the double barrel, double wood,
Nice.
bubbling. It's pretty good.
So basically, we have our drink, have discussions, and it goes to basically the length of the drink. But if it gets good, we can add more to the drink.
yeah. That is true. A couple times we've gone long.
Yeah.
So
what did you want to talk about? You had some things. You've been busy. You've been very busy.
I've been busier. I resurrected. To take to take our own advice, right, is to do more research, be more involved, especially in the community, but also trying to avoid echo chambers. So I resurrected my X account, and I'm following basically key members of XRP, Algorand, Cardano, Hedera, Casper, Bitcoin, so I can actually see what the community is actually saying, because that's one place that they are. You typically follow their official links off their websites. There's a lot of fake accounts, so don't try to follow them directly or find them directly on X. Actually go to their website and then get to them that way so you can follow them. Typically, they'll either have a combination of a Telegram, Discord, X, so whatever platform you're on. So trying to, take my own advice. And some of the communities and the news that gets presented there doesn't get published in the news.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot that actually is going on in the community. Of course, you have your sibling rivalries. I'll phrase it that way.
Yeah.
Right? But there's also a lot of good things that are actually happening. And I said that, and I actually, I tweeted this or X'd it or whatever you want to call it nowadays, is multi-chain is the future. And there's the DREC Alliance. This is basically decentralized regenerative keys. So basically, Hedera, XRP, Cardano, Algorand are the founding members of the DREC Alliance to come up with a protocol to be able to distribute your private key against trusted people that you know. So if you actually lose your key phrases and your wallet, you can go back to those people that you trust to rebuild your private key to get your wallet back in a decentralized way. So that actually I kind of find it really cool. So I want to see more collaborations like this. So one of the things that was really kind of getting my hairs down a little bit it was the Bitcoin maximalists. And there's maximalists in all camps, and they all pretty much do this. But there's some really intelligent people that are in that camp, and it's like your Jack Dorsey's, Max Kaiser, the MicroStrategy CEO. I'm kind of like missing his name at the moment. Michael Saylor. These people are highly intelligent, motivated. And some of them are actually in technology, have been in the space for a long time, and they have some amazing opportunities to do a partnership and put a lot of this to bed, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, if they really think that most of these other tokens and blockchains are just pure garbage, they're too centralized, whatever, why not fix the problems that they see, team up with them? Because Bitcoin is winning on liquidity, period. Nobody disputes that.
All right.
But where I'm in disagreement with them is that, and the reason why I'm really happy about the DREC Alliance is because I see a multi-chain future. We just don't know who the winners are going to be outside of Bitcoin.
Right.
But Bitcoin as a community can put the whole thing to bed by saying, we're going to partner with X chain we're going to integrate X chain into one of our wallets as a pilot program. So that way we could actually send, in other words, not needing this Lightning thing that actually is partly centralized from my understanding of it. Now we can actually use a partner chain that is decentralized, get rid of these bridges that are kind of centralized, and actually transact Bitcoin across this partner chain.
Oh, yeah, it's
And guess what they get out of that? They get high speed, they get smart contracts, they get everything that they're trying to do, but they're not, but they're kind of failing at. And the reason why this actually became a thought pattern is, as of right now, being a programmer as trade, I've done a lot of different things, computer wise, been kind of been jack of all trades. But there's a really good talk. He breaks it down Barney style, so somebody like me can understand it. So I'm not trying to pretend that I am that smart. I mean, Herb Sutter is really smart, but he's a principal engineer for Microsoft on the, I think he's on the Visual Studio team, and he's actually done papers for the C++ Standards Committee. He's working on CPP front, and he gave a talk and has a paper actually discussing why he's maintaining compatibility with the standard as it exists. And two of the big examples, he brought up that I actually remember. No, I think he brought up a third that I don't really remember. And this is kind of telling. Actually, I do remember the third. So you have Python 2 versus Python 3. You have TypeScript and JavaScript. There's actually another language in here that I can't remember the name of, but it's one of the reasons why this is important. And then you actually have Rust, a brand new language. Well, he did an analysis of this and other software and actually determined when you are not compatible, adoption takes about a decade. Okay. Python 2 to Python 3 took about 12 years. TypeScript, any valid JavaScript is a valid TypeScript. So to get started in TypeScript, all you have to do, and you have an existing project, rename your files from .js to .ts, move forward. Your managers would love that. Now you can actually say, okay, today I want to actually introduce some TypeScript in what I renamed yesterday. All of my tests still passed. It's still the same production code. I can actually move forward. 100% backwards compatibility. Rust was developed by the Mozilla Foundation because they did find a hole in the existing languages at the time, because it came out or was being developed around 2008, 2009. The Standards Committee for C++ didn't introduce features that would have fixed some of these problems for the Mozilla Foundation until C++ 11. And those really didn't get implemented or standardized in the compilers until about 2013. So at least for Mozilla, for Firefox, it became a known quantity. But here it is about a decade later, and now where it's starting to make the news. It's being pushed, it's making it to the Linux kernel. It took a decade for something that was not compatible with anything. There's a lot of shims, a lot of work to actually use existing libraries. But this is where I'm thinking that's where Bitcoin is making a mistake, because they have the liquidity, which is the engine that drives the train, but they do not have smart contracts. They're trying to shoehorn NFTs with their ordinals. But these other things already exist. Ethereum's been out there for a decade. The EVM has. Algorand's turning 6 years old. There's production smart contracts on it. Real world adoption. We don't see it here in the US because of slow government taking its time getting us regulation.
All right.
But around the world, Algorand's being used in real world use. And it's not an EVM, which means that those applications are not going to migrate. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, it's clicking. I'm hearing what you're laying down. You see where I'm
going with this?
Yeah, because
my head's been spinning.
It's basically old. Bitcoin's old technology at this point, essentially. But it's taken a decade to get where it's at. Like you said, true statement to me. Like based on what we've seen. So if what you're saying basically is if they were to adopt some of these other technologies and combine it, they could become like really like the mecca, right? They could become like the one, like everything.
You would knock it down to 2 chains.
Yeah, it would just become, that would be it, because it's like you essentially have the backing of Bitcoin that's got all the power essentially right now. And whoever they were to adopt with them and work together with them, it could, it would push them, but I don't know. Well, that goes all the way back to Bitcoin. We don't know who actually, who developed Bitcoin. We don't know who, so there's conversations that people do know, that people or there's other people that are running it now or something like that, but it's, I don't know. You would think if they were running it, they would something new releases, new whatever would come out, they would try to maybe do something like this, but I don't know. Who makes that decision,
Well,
that's basically what it boils down to. It would Bitcoin, who makes that decision,
right.
But yeah,
right. And that's the thing is that, and the thing is that I don't think it has to be done necessarily. Having an on-chain solution could potentially be better, or basically like coupled nodes in some way. But you could start off by potentially implementing some of this just in the wallet software.
Yeah.
So that way, because that way you just abstract it and then it happens seamlessly through the wallet. So that way it is actually, what is it called? Double entry bookkeeping. So basically you would have a entry of the transaction happening on the faster chain. So that way both wallets will actually demonstrate the fact that the Bitcoin transferred, even though that it's still taking its 10, 20, 30 minutes or a day or however long it takes for that transaction to actually make it into a block on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So now you actually have 2 records of entry for it that have to agree with each other. I was saying, it's like, I do believe it's entirely possible. And there's people that are way smarter than me that are in this space. If they could just stop thinking so myopically and potentially selfishly.
Yeah.
It's like the technology can just really take off in some interesting ways, because it's like we've discussed this, is that, Bitcoin has liquidity. It's got the machine power. It just is that there's some people that are so bought in that they don't want to believe that anything else can actually take its place.
Right.
And the thing is that when you're actually talking about a lot how certain applications work, especially in the finance industry, as I said, blockchain as a technology, gives has value, and these tokens have value because of the transactions and everything else that's going to be occurring on them. There's a application that I had actually recently found. Actually, I found 2 that are doing a couple things. But my wife asked me recently. She was like, no, it wasn't my wife. It was my mom. She was like, is there any applications out there that are social media-ish, that are completely done decentralized and don't require DNS to operate? In other words, they're truly peer-to-peer. And I'm like, I think there's been a few, but I don't know if there's been any that are blockchain based. And I can't remember the name of it, but there is one that Jack Dorsey is working on, Twitter fame. Again, and it's going to be built around Bitcoin. But I mean, could you imagine something that's actually a message ingrained in Bitcoin at the speed of Bitcoin? It's like by the time you get your message in there, the conversation that you typed the message in for is, long gone.
45 minutes ago.
It's just like, hey, I had a witty response, but now that I say it, it's kind of cringy.
Yeah.
So it's just like it does not operate at the speed of thought. Now for Polygon, there is apparently something called Lens, which is a profile protocol. So you build yourself a profile, and some of the applications are Twitter-esque, Instagram-esque, and they use the same profile. I think they kind of missed the mark on that because I ended up when they transitioned, I gave up all of my Polygon, so only Off the Crypto Cuff has any right now. I don't, so I didn't want to actually take from that to try it. But it kind of felt weird to try to create a specific profile. I liked actually the way it's handled on Algorand. So there's actually something called WeCoop, which is a Twitter-ish type thing. It costs a tenth of a coop to post a message, a tenth of a coop to like somebody's message, and that actually goes to the person's that actually made the message.
Oh,
so you can so basically there's a cost to post, but you can actually get rewarded for engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So you get followers, you can get paid. So it actually the payment process kind of gamifies it, so it'll actually slow trolls. It will actually make a pain for people trying to run a botnet in there, because there's a cost to it. Yeah. So does that cost become worthwhile? So, and the other thing is that you don't have to. I mean, it's like all I had to do was get some coop off of a DEX on Algorand, and all I had to do was connect my wallet. 2 requirements. Yeah. I didn't have to create a profile.
Super easy. Yeah.
Right. That was very easy. Low barrier to entry. So basically, it was my public address, which is basically my username by default. I just happen to have enough domains. I had my own domain for Algorand. So basically, I just posted that up, and that's my profile now. So I'm Excalibur.algo.
Right. That's interesting. Like, could you imagine?
It's very integrated.
Yeah. Could you imagine, like, that would be the next level when it comes to like social media and stuff like that and all this stuff. People would, I mean, I wonder, you wonder if people get less likes at that point, because then now it's like in people's head, they're like, oh, this is costing me money to like somebody. So it's like, it makes more, that's almost, it's a little bit bad too. I can see where that becomes, you know what I mean? Cause it's like, those likes have a lot more weight on them than they would normal, they do now. People, I mean, there's a whole thing with that right now with kids and stuff like that, that if they don't get likes on something, they think something's wrong with them, and they weigh so much on it. Could you imagine what that would be like if they weighed? I mean, I'm playing a little devil's advocate here, obviously, but it's like if they knew the weight meant more, it meant a financial thing. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have to call it. They'd have to call it something else rather than likes. I think it'd be, because it would get mixed up, I think. I don't know. It just seems two-sided, right? It's like, yeah, if you're social media, like, that's your career and that's what you're making money on, it's just another way to make money outside of sponsorships and just pure followers and stuff like that. But it's also could become much worse than what it is now when it comes to social media, as far as the psychological aspect of it. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even know, what was that again? What was the name of that? You said that's a thing right now? That's a I don't remember the name of it. I thought you just said it.
WeCoop.xyz.
Oh, interesting.
1 second.
Yeah, that's because that would be kind of. I mean, it definitely could become like where this the YouTube and what's the other one, TikTok and all these social media things where people were making money off of just being on social media all the time. That's a whole other channel or direction. Yeah. I see it. Interesting. Yeah. But also, like, go back to your decade as Bitcoin thing. That's the thing too, and we've seen this in other things in the markets and stuff like that. Is like if failure to adapt, basically, if they don't, you kind of hit your prime, you go through and you have a good run, but if you don't adapt, you tend to just phase away and something else will come up. So I think what you're saying kind of like is saying that, yeah, they're at the prime right now. Bitcoin's at the prime. It's, volume. Some people think it's going to go higher, go hundred thousands of dollars or something. But if they don't adapt and these other ones come up behind them, they're hitting their kind of towards their prime, their decade, where they're getting that traction and stuff like that. These are going to potentially take over. So
that's very true.
I mean, in my opinion, this is our opinion. We're not,
yeah, we're not financial
experts. Yeah, we're not financial advisors, but it just makes sense. It's common sense essentially. And if you look at what other things, not necessarily crypto, but just other things in the world have done, I think we've talked about this before, just different things that, like, AOL was the first, Yahoo, now it's Google, it's like these things all in the .com era. Yeah, exactly. Blockbuster tried to pivot, but I think they pivoted too late, and that's why Netflix took over. A lot of the other video stores kind of, I'm sure you guys had your own town video stores in the area that were small chains. They didn't pivot, so they basically went away. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So,
very cool. I sent you the link.
Yeah, WeCoop. Yeah. .xyz. It's not popping up. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things happening. Apparently, the Linux Foundation's got into a lot of different things. They're not just managing the open source kernel anymore. They actually do manage Kubernetes, which is a platform that we're both familiar with, and they're actually doing decentralization as their next. And the Hedera has actually been a founding member in Linux Foundation decentralization and basically donated all their source code to it. So I said there's a lot of different things going on that lends to this, and this could this cycle could actually prove this out. If you want to take a look at this, try to be unbiased as much as possible about what's happening to Bitcoin. Is potentially it may get it might get through this cycle. But it could also be potentially hitting this technological wall where you're actually seeing these financial institutions, looking for capability and functionality and utility. And there was actually a really good interview with John Allen Woods. He's the chief technical officer at Algorand. And one of the questions actually raised to him, and this was actually kind of neat, though, is it's like saying that the interviewer says, "So you solved the blockchain trilemma?" And he looked at cheapest and kind of looked away, and he was like, "Well, tell me exactly what you mean by solved." And then he started telling a story about Tesla, and it's just like cars and just technology in a car. And he's like, "What do you actually call transportation solved? It's still evolving." It's like, there's nibs and bobs that you can actually tweak that actually could affect, how scalable you are, how decentralized you are, and it's just like, and when you actually turn one up, these dials are connected, one's going to move, so it's definitely a balancing act. And, and again, he's, chilling, of course, for Algorand. So he's going to say they got as close as pretty much anybody can get. But, they're going to try to tweak things. But when they tweak things are just going to happen, because these dials are connected. So it was actually a really cool conversation. One of the funniest comments, though, that actually was, I think, an Ethereum dig. And it was actually asked a question about, well, what about Algorand layer 2s? And he said, well, if you need a layer 2 for your chain to be successful, you already failed. But he had an interesting rebuttal. He says that he sees that a layer 2 or a side chain could be useful when it's domain specific. So
explain that a little bit, because I think that's a little in the weeds.
Yeah, it's a little in the weeds.
Yeah.
So let's say that you're trying to do something that actually requires a high transaction rate that you can't get. And you can basically bundle those transactions and put them onto the main chain. So let's say that you're doing some kind of like data processing or maybe even AI. So the primary chain is not necessarily useful to that. So you create a side chain or a layer 2 that your application attaches to, but ultimately everything is going to be recorded upstream to the layer 1 chain. So basically the side chain becomes domain specific for your application, your industry. I was trying to come up with an example. I don't know if I actually have a good one off the top of my head, because sometimes some of these people say something and I'm like, they're up here,
yeah,
I'm here, and then I'm like, I understood about 90% of what you guys said, and I might be able to explain 10% of it.
Right. Yeah, it is the hard part, where you, like, explaining things. It takes different side of the brain, I feel like.
But it was a really good conversation about it. But yeah, and that's one of the things that, and this thought process that I've been having about the decade actually lent to the other half of it, because Ethereum is actually getting it to be about a decade old, and there's actually are real world applications built on it already.
Yeah.
And so, and
well, that's well, Ethereum also, didn't they have a secondary release? So there's still, I think there is a lot of backing behind that one, a lot of belief that will be the next one past Bitcoin. Just because it does seem to have, we know who developed it, we know who owns it, essentially, who's the maker of it. There has been advances with it, so I don't have any Ethereum. I've never been a big Ethereum fan. I think there's better, again, back to utility out there.
And that's where that date comes from, because I think Matic or Polygon has done a lot to keep Ethereum afloat, because Polygon basically fulfills the promise of what Ethereum said it was going to be.
Right.
And even when I was playing around on Polygon, and the only reason why I keep a little Polygon is because I do have some unstoppable domains, so I have to have some currency that's actually compatible with the platform. Again, there's a application that exists, but and then that's where I was like, okay, so who's compatible with Ethereum? Because if there's applications that exist there, and we know that it takes about a decade for migration, because we're talking about corporations, we're talking about them actually working their balance sheets and actually wanting to spend money, because it basically effectively what they're doing is planning the obsolescence of an application to build a new. That's effectively what that time frame is. And so now the ones that we XRP is very similar to Bitcoin. Right now they don't have a on-chain virtual machine of any sort. Some people are attempting to fake it with what is there. They recently came out and said that they're thinking about actually doing an Ethereum sidechain. So again, there's a reason why to have a sidechain. That actually caused a bit of a stir. They said, well, that's not XRP. That's not what the ledger is supposed to be. Smart contracts are a thing, and people want them. Hedera, I think I sent you a small list because I was trying to write this out. All right, let's see here. My internet's being a little slow. Sorry. Okay. So VeChain, by default, CVM, HBAR is, and of course we were dealing with not a Harmony one for a little while. That's CVM. Casper
yeah,
is basically WASM. That's WebAssembly. Algorand is unique, and they have their own native language called Teal. So basically, these other besides Casper and Algorand, these other chains that can fulfill the promise, they could say, if you bring your application over here, you would get X, Y, and Z benefit without having to modify your application. So going back to the statement about why to have a sidechain for Algorand is have a EVM sidechain to execute Ethereum virtual machine smart contracts on the Algorand network. That would be a good reason for a side chain.
Mm-hmm.
And then and basically have tools that can help people port over from Selenium over to Python, which actually gets into their Teal. So that's part of that conversation. It's just like, so who's setting themselves up? And again, everything is an engineering trade-off. And I haven't got into Casper and why they did what they did, but apparently they're Turing complete, which can lend into problems.
Yeah.
Because if you're basically Turing complete means you pretty much can do anything. If a computer could do it, you can do it in a Turing complete system.
Okay. Yeah.
Which basically means that why they may have had that security issue, even though they fixed it. Right? Now, because most of these smart contract systems, they can't reach the internet, they can't reach local storage. They're very limited on the things that they can actually execute as code. And the language restricts them and that stuff. So, as I said, that is part of that conversation. So it's like for Algorand to so what would it take for Algorand or even Casper to coax these, long-term Ethereum applications to pull them over, to pull them in, to bring them in?
I was just seeing some of your stuff that you sent. One of them was the Walmart post. You no longer accept U.S. cash. Starting September 23rd. Thank you.
That's Canada.
Yeah.
There's the brick by brick de-dollarization, only a matter of time.
Is it starting? Yeah. I don't know. What's was that you? I was talking to somebody, or I saw something, or I think I saw something. I might have been telling you about it. The where somebody's trying to say, basically, they're going to let Trump win, so they can handle him, and then the country right when the dollar is failing. And so basically, just dropping his hands like that. So I don't know.
I don't know either. It's like I heard something similar the first time that he was he won. It's like they're trying to set the economy up to fail on him.
Yep.
The problem is that if you take a look at it, the dollar was instituted in 1913 to today. It's lost 99% of its value, which means everything that is priced in relation to it has gone up in value by that much.
Right.
We've been experiencing inflation this entire time. And it's just the only difference in the last 4 years is people have been experiencing it in real time, because the inflation of the dollar, the goal is to keep it to 2%. Which
it's a rapid pace. But also that could break it because it's too fast that things can't keep up with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that said, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm done too.
So, all right. Well, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Cheers.
Cheers.